He looked more explosive. He looked more aggressive. He just looked in better shape. That dude was cut up from the butt up. Like, he was shredded, man. Like, he looked good. So it's got to be Kai Kara France, because that's the last.
Yeah.
That's about the last challenge at flyweight that there is.
Yeah. All right. Welcome to another episode of Two Fight Fans, where we talk about all things in combat sports. I'm one fight fan, Collin.
Are you a fight fan, Collin?
Come on.
Did you watch any of UFC 310?
Live? No.
Oh. After the fact, though, you easily caught up on all the fights, yes?
Oh, obviously. No. My poor planning put me coming home right at the end of the broadcast. So I thought I was going to time it properly just to see the Shavkat Rakhmonov fight and Alexander Pantoja and Kaya Sakura. But turns out I missed it all.
Look, man, when your whole life revolves around strippers and blow,
Yeah.
I get it. That's what happens.
You just lose track, man.
You do. That is a thing that does happen when you're in the club. It happens. So what did you end up seeing of this card?
Okay. I watched, because I knew we were going to talk about it. I did watch the Pantoja and Kaya Sakura fight.
All right.
I saw a replay of that. And gotta be honest, I'm pretty disappointed. I'm pretty disappointed in my boy Kaya Sakura. I thought he was gonna have a better showing, but it came out almost exactly the way that you said it, but it just happened 2 rounds earlier. So, yeah. What did this either confirm for you? Do you think this was just like Kaya Sakura being rushed into it too quickly? Do you think he's not as good as we thought? He's just been fighting donks for a whole while, and like now that he's actually getting into some real competition, what do you think?
Well, in this victory, Pantoja has now tied Demetrius Johnson and Joseph Benavidez.
Is insane. I had no idea.
Yeah, most victories at flyweight within the UFC. He is now 10-0 in people against who are currently in the top 10 in the flyweight division. He has now surpassed Demetrius Johnson and Joseph Benavidez for most finishes at the flyweight division.
That is insane.
So while we knew Kaya Sakura was limited, right, he did come out and gave a good showing. He immediately turned it into a firefight and an ultra high-paced affair in which like any little slip-up could lead to a knockout. The thing is, Pantoja might be the best flyweight since Demetrius Johnson. And I think we haven't been hip to it, because rather than kind of blowing his opponents out of the water in the way that Demetrius Johnson did, Pantoja, quite a few of his fights, the Urseg fight, even the Moreno fight, the Royval fight, are pretty close affairs. He isn't this like dominant force in which he's winning every single round he's fighting in, but he is coming out with the win in every single fight. He is, in a way, kind of like Dricus du Plessis, where you go, how is this working? He's down 3 rounds, and then he keeps pulling out finishes. He keeps pulling out wins. Pantoja's the man, dude. Like, he fucking...
Yeah.
He took it to Asakura. Every little opening Asakura gave him, he pounced on. And, like, that finishing sequence was amazing. He took the back like a fucking ghost, and then cranked Asakura's body into the shape of a question mark and choked him out, man. It was... Yeah. I'm all about Pantoja, dude. He's the man.
Okay, so you are much more in the line of like, okay, this is just how good Pantoja is, not so much of like Kaya Sakura wasn't as good as we thought he was going to be.
Look, Kaya Sakura, I think, could probably beat people in the top 15 in the flyweight division. He's a very large, dynamic, explosive striker.
Yeah.
But he just doesn't have like a well-rounded MMA game.
Right.
So
right.
He can probably beat, people in the top 15. Can he beat Brandon Moreno, Kai Kara France, Brandon Royval? I don't know. But I'm excited that he's here. I'm excited to see what he can do. And I guess the thing is, like, Pantoja didn't have any, tape on him in the cage uh, to see what he could do. And Kaya Sakura was physically larger than him.
Mhm.
And that was, like, very apparent. So, yeah, this, yeah, I mean, like, I was never high on, like, Kaya Sakura's, like, the ultimate answer. We said, if the wheels are falling off, Kaya Sakura might be trouble. But it turns out Alexandre Pantoja at, what, a couple months shy of 35? This dude is still rocking at flyweight.
Yeah.
An absolute stud, dude. An absolute stud.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's okay. Let's ask two big questions. Okay, for you. One, who's next for Pantoja then?
Well,
Also,
you
completely unrelated. Him rocking the shaved head like a la Alex Pereira. It's a good look. I liked it. I liked it.
yeah, he's a sexy dude. He's a good looking man. There's nothing wrong with saying that.
No,
He's a good
I'm
looking
with
dude.
you.
And like a dog on the bone, you give him a fucking opening, and he's gonna grab onto it and not let go. The dude's a
Yeah.
little pit bull. It's nasty. Who's next for him? I don't know. You tell me. Because looking at this dude's fucking record, he's got 3 wins over Moreno, who was, I think, number 1 or number 2. He's got 2 wins against Royval. He beat Ursig. He beat Perez, who I think is in the top 10. He beat Manal Cape, who's in the top 15. He beat Schnell, who I don't think is in the top
No.
anymore. But like he's beaten most people in the top 10. So what do you do with him?
Kai Kara France.
I think that's about right. If you beat Karkawa France, that's about as close to clearing out the division as you can do
Yeah.
without like really dipping into the number 15 contender.
Yeah.
Um,
Has he fought Amir Albazi yet? Or no?
he is not, but Brandon Moreno. I mean, we applauded Brandon Moreno's performance against Amir Albazi, but Amir Albazi had that heart condition and like neck and spine surgery.
Oh, right.
I don't know, man. Especially this Pantoja. Pantoja looked better this fight than he did in his previous fight. Like he looked more explosive. He looked more aggressive. Just looked in better shape. That dude was cut up from the butt up. Like he was shredded, man. Like he looked good. So it's got to be Kai Kara France because that's the last.
Yeah.
That's about the last challenge at flyweight that there is.
Yeah.
But let me pose an alternative. Just for
Oh.
funsies. Because I think it would be cool to have Kaya Sakura and Kai Kara France fight. Because we also need to think about what are we going to do with Kaya Sakura? We can't give him Amir Albazi. We can't give him like Brandon Royval, like people that are just going to try to grapple him. We need to get him into action fights. So I think Kai Kara France would be great. There's only one man currently in the UFC that Alexandre Pantoja has a loss to. And that's Davison Figueiredo at 135. Why not make a rematch at 135? Because Davison Figueiredo is still like a top contender at 135. And Pantoja is there as well. Like this could be sort of a grudge match because there is really no one else for him to fight at 125 at the moment. What do you think about that fight?
I do like that. I do. Yeah, I like that a lot, and it does set up a potential like super fight if Pantoja wants to go for double champ status. You know, whether he goes up against Marab or Umar Nurmagomedov or even Sean O'Malley, whoever claims the belt in that interim time. But yeah, trying to avenge his sole loss at a higher weight class, that's exciting. You know, and then it sets up more storylines down the line. But just your follow up afterwards, you're saying putting Kai Kara France against Kaya Sakura. Aren't you afraid that might essentially cannibalize another person within that division?
Bro,
Like,
this is the division of the cannibal, right? This is Andre Pantoja's division. We people need to be like laying waste to the rest of the division to fight him, right? The top 1 and 2 contenders have both lost to him 2 and 3 times. Alex Perez, number 6, has lost to him. Steve Ursig, number 8, has lost to him. Number 9, Manal Kopp has lost to him. Number 14, Cody Durden, I believe lost to him, but he's about to get booted out. Number 15, Matt Schnell lost to him. He's about to get booted out. Like, we have Tatsuro Taira, who's coming loss. We have Asu Almabayev, maybe, as an interesting challenge.
I was gonna say, yeah.
But the thing is with Kaya Sakura, I didn't know this, but somebody had on Twitter or Instagram had kind of illuminated me to this. Kaya Sakura and his brother are kind of, in a way, like the Jake and Logan Paul of Japan. But
What, really?
instead of getting into boxing, they got into MMA and turned out to be okay at it, right?
Huh. Okay.
Like they were social media influencers who did like those backyard brawl fight things.
Mm.
And again, both of their games are limited, especially the older brother of Kaya Sakura. But they have a ton of celebrity, and that's why this fight was primarily made. It wasn't like this is the most worthy flyweight outside of the organization. It was this is the biggest flyweight star outside of the organization.
Oh, all right.
So I think
I learned something new.
Yeah, let's see Kai Kara France and Kaya Sakura fight, because they're both dynamic, devastating punchers, and if Kai Sakura can beat Kai Kara France, like, well, hey, fuck it, let's try a rematch. Let's see if he can learn something, especially if Pantoja takes a fight in between. Maybe it's Asu Almabayev. My issue is Kai Sakura is so exciting. He's kind of like Justin Gaethje for flyweights, right? Like he threw a flying knee immediately coming into this fight. He like they were winging punches so fucking fast right from the get go. It was like we should not have him go. Well, how about Amir Albazi? Well, what about Tatsuro Taira? Well, what about Asumu Bayev? What about Tim Elliott? These like really grappling heavy fighters. Let's not do that. We know what we have in him. In the same way that with Justin Gaethje, you're like, I want to see him in firefights with other action fighters. That's what I want to see. And the best action fighter outside of Brandon Moreno, who I think would probably murder him in the division, is Kai Kara France. So why not have the two Kais fight? That's if Joe Silva was still here, he'd be like, oh man, two guys named Kai, let's make that fight. Like that's the kind of goofy ass fights the UFC used to make, and I'm here for it, man.
All right.
So that's what I think. And then in the meantime, like, I mean, dude, Umar Nurmagomedov and Rob Dvalishvili, I think are just too big probably for Pantoja to fight. But I would love to see him get a rematch with Deiveson Figueiredo, because if he beats him, Deiveson is number 5 in the bantamweight division. It shows that he can probably hang with a larger person and in that division. But I think that's like a nice test the waters fight for Pantoja. But if not, fuck it. Yeah, I think you're right. Kai Kara France and then Kaya Sakura can fight. I mean, who is another action fighter in this division that would be really good? I mean, maybe Steve Erceg. Maybe, two giant flyweights who primarily stand. That'd be an interesting fight.
Yeah, I do feel bad for Steve Erceg. He's just been on a skid and coming off a bad knockout from Kai Kara France. If he gets knocked out again by Kaya Sakura, like, just sacrifice Steve Erceg. Like, jeez.
Yeah, I mean, not really a skid, right? He had the bad knockout to Kai Kara France, but like he basically through an unforced error lost that fight against Pantoja. So like I would love to see him challenge again.
Was it unforced? You were very critical of him for diving in on that.
Oh yeah, no, that's why it's unforced, because he had donkey brains. He got donkey brains. Yeah. You can't have donkey brains a flyweight, and he just got them, and he's like, "Fuck it, I'll shoot." And you're like, "You're winning this fight. You don't need to do that shit." Yeah. Anyway, but no, I mean Pantoja is in the way that people complained about Demetrius Johnson being boring or flyweights being boring when Demetrius Johnson was around, mostly because Demetrius was just dispatching of everyone in the division. So there was no storylines to even make. I feel like that's kind of where Pantoja is. There's just like maybe if Tatsuro Taira had beaten Brandon Royval, but since we're in this position where the new contenders can't quite break through, Pantoja just keeps knocking everyone back, and so it just ends up becoming this sort of wasteland of a division.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, I don't know. Whatever it takes. Pantoja is about to be 35, which is, I mean, like senior citizen level at flyweight. So
But he did fight like a senior citizen, so who
no,
knows?
yeah, he was fucking ripping ass out there. Um, like this, we get just keep. I want him as active as possible, right? Like let's just every 3 months. Let's do Kai Kara France. Let's do Oscar Bayev. Let's maybe if Steve Versick can get a win, like let's get him back in there. Josh Van was also on this card, and Josh Van beat the living Jesus out of Cody Durden.
Oh, did he?
Yes, he did. If Josh Van can string together maybe 2 or 3 more wins, let's get him in there. Let's this is the division where we kind of cannibalize people, but that's because it's the cannibals division, baby. It's the era of Alexandre Pantoja. So let's celebrate him while he's here because he's probably not going to be here much longer. And he was fantastic in this fight. It was exciting to watch.
Yeah.
Both of them took huge risks, and in the end, Pantoja just snatched up that neck and choked Kaya Sakura unconscious in front of an entire crowd. Like that's great. That's what we love to see.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. All right. So you didn't watch anything else. So
No, unfortunately.
I guess what questions do you have as someone who I guess didn't watch the fucking card?
All right. Well, here's the thing. I saw that Shavkat Rakhmonov beat Ian Gary. Like that, accordingly, like it was closer than it should have been. But I also heard that Shavkat Rakhmonov had a knee injury coming into it, like a torn MCL.
Yeah.
So, did it look like that? Was he not as dynamic as he could have been, or was he actually just having trouble with Ian Gary's style? And it took him a little while to like figure out in the end.
Mm-hmm. Well, with a torn MCL, it's hard to know, kind of right, like how somebody will react to having that bad of an injury.
Right.
I guess the thing that I'll say, or 2 or 3 things I'll say, is one, Shavkat Rakhmonov is known as kind of like I think I did or you did or we both did compared to him like a slasher movie villain, right? Like just moving forward, no matter how many times you like shoot him or stab him, he just keeps coming forward swinging a machete.
Okay. Yep.
Something that we've criticized Ian Machado Gary about is like not actually throwing that much and just kind of skating around the ring and being very defensive. It turns out that in the absence of kind of that firefight, like if you're not going to stand and meet Shavkat Rakhmonov, kind of like running away from Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers, you can keep running and Michael Myers won't be able to stab you, right?
Okay.
And if you get close to Michael Myers and let's say grab both hands on his knife hand, he can't do much, right? You're not going to be able to kill him, but he's also not going to be able to stab you. It's this thing of without a kind of willing dance partner to go, I'm going to go offense for offense and we'll see who wins out. Shavkat wins that gamble 99 times out of 100. He will go offense for offense, right? If it's like an artillery barrage between 2 lines, like one line goes, I got more firepower than you.
Okay.
But what that meant is that essentially Ian Machado Gary just shut down, took very little damage in this fight overall. And Shavkat Rakhmonov, while he is, I think, probably the most potent offensive fighter, it really showed he doesn't have a lot of defense because Ian Machado Gary was extremely defensive, and then the 1 or 2 times he was able to kind of puncture Shavkat's defense, which is very, very porous. I mean, he almost had a full rear naked choke sunk in on Shavkat in the 5th round.
Oh, really?
And Shavkat was not fighting the hands. Shavkat was not doing the things you need to do for like basic choke defense. And so what it showed is like, now how much of it is like both of them are like 6'3" and really long for this division. Ian Machado Gary is very fleet of foot. He seemed to have scouted really well. They both were sparring partners in the past. It kind of gave the vibe of like 2 people who have sparred for a long time. And so they are, although the audience doesn't know it, each one of them is kind of preemptively avoiding the other's offense that they know will probably be coming. So then it mutes all offense from both sides. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like We won't drop names, but we used to both spar an individual who every kick they threw happened to land directly into the groin area. And so you just were like, I'm gonna stay really fucking far away from this person and not get my balls kicked really hard. And like you just but then that mutes your offense, right? And they can't do anything, right? Because all
Yeah.
they have is the testicle kick. And so they're not doing anything else. That's kind of what this felt like. So it showed that Ian Machado Gary, I mean, can hang with Shavkat. He probably is the best defensive fighter in this division, or he has the best defense.
Mhm.
But he also didn't have any offense to like take away rounds from Shavkat.
Mhm.
Um, and it also showed that like if Shavkat has a bad knee, uh, he's not his A game is like walking forward, eating all of your punches, like in the Jeff Neal fight, and then throwing back, and then tripping you and landing ground and pound. When he can't get that A game going, because maybe he has an unwilling dance partner who won't meet him in the middle, or has really scouted his takedowns, he doesn't really have a B game, right?
Mm.
His A game is so overwhelming, but like Ian Machado Guerrero really kind of forced him to go, okay, what are you gonna do if I don't come and try to strike with you, and I really try to like defend all of your clinch throws? Uh, and Shavkat didn't seem to have an answer, except in the fourth round where like he's like, oh, I'll go for a double leg, and then he went for the double leg and just like threw Gary like a child to the ground, and you're like, where the fuck was that the whole time, right? So again, that thing about the knee being an issue, part of it does feel like maybe that was at play. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's I don't know. Either way, both men, neither one of them performed in a way where I went, Bilal Muhammad that beat Leon Edwards wouldn't be able to beat them on this night. But this felt like an aberrant performance almost from both of them. Um,
Okay.
Ian Machado, Gary less so. Definitely for Shavkat.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I
So
I think the expectations were super high. Like, I really thought, like, Shavkat Rachmanov would just, like, ragdoll Ian
yeah,
Machado Gary. Like, it would take
yeah,
him maybe a little bit to get a hold of him, but once he did, he was just gonna, like, grab him, slam him onto the ground, and just maul him from that point. And the fact that he couldn't, whether that was because of Ian Gary's, like, slickness and mobility, his scouting, or the injury, like, we won't really be able to tell until
yeah,
Shavkat Rachmanov fights again. So,
yeah. I mean, what it showed is like two big things. Like one big thing for each of them. Ian Machado, Gary, very defensively sound. He's going to be an opponent that's very hard to beat convincingly.
mm,
Um, but he also doesn't have enough like offensive dynamism on his side to beat the higher level guys convincingly himself.
right.
Right? It's going to always be this very well kind of a toss up for the majority of rounds. And when it comes to someone like Bilal Muhammad, who's very good at winning rounds, uh, that's probably not a winning formula for
Mhm,
Ian Gary. Shavkat Rakhmonov, on the other hand, it's like when he doesn't get that sort of firefight that he wants, we're like, we're gonna meet in the middle, and I'll just eat whatever you give me, but that'll give me the chance to like deal as much offense as I want. When he doesn't get that, he doesn't really have a way to force exchanges in a major way, right?
mhm.
Um, so both of those things are not great to learn about them. I mean, it's important to learn, but I don't know. Shavkat has been so good that I still pick him over Bilal Muhammad. But it definitely makes me less likely to think that Bilal Muhammad's going to get blown out of the water by either one of these guys.
Okay, yeah, that was my main question as whether or
Yeah.
not, like, does this performance solidify the fact that Rachmanov should be a big favorite going against Bilal Muhammad, or is it actually gonna be a little bit closer than we thought? Because, just everything Shavkat Rachmanov has shown us has been like, "Oh god, it's only a matter of time until that guy gets a hold of you in the
Yeah.
cage and you're just dead," you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I mean, but is Bilal as long and lanky and fleet of foot as Ian Gary? No. So, like, how much is it being like Ian Gary was also insulated by being some of the faster footwork in this division and being just as long and tall as Shavkat, where Shavkat's going to be towering like 3 or 4 inches above Bilal
Mhm.
Muhammad. You know, like that also you got to kind of factor that in and go, well, I don't know. Um, yeah.
Mhm.
And because they'd sparred before, right? Like it really struck me as like this whole fight felt like a sparring session. Like they both
Right.
were preemptively not throwing or preemptively moving in a way where they were like, I've seen this pattern from you before, I'm gonna stop it. And so it ended up just kind of feeling more of a sparring match than an actual fight.
Mhm.
So, I mean, I don't know. The welterweight division has like places to go. We've got Bilal. He's gonna fight Shavkat. Ian Machado Gary can fight Kamaru Usman and Leon Edwards. And like Leon also has kind of this weird like he falls into like even when his partner isn't someone he's sparred with before, he falls into this weird like mindset of like I'll just act like I'm sparring and then lose rounds. Um,
Mhm.
so I don't know. It definitely shook up the division and kind of tampered a little bit of the excitement for Shavkat, but Ian Gary's legit. Like he if even if he can't like beat people, he can make all of them look really bad. Is kind of
Mhm.
what I learned. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So
So we already know where Shafkat is going next. What do you have for Ian Gary next?
he should probably fight Leon Edwards, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
or Kamaru Usman.
Yeah. Ah.
Let's or he might want Gilbert Burns. I don't know. Like I think next all I want to see is I want to see him fight um in a way where he shows a little bit more offensive potency.
Mhm.
Because he was blocking. I mean, there were some great moments where like Shavkat, got a specific trip, where he, was pulling down on the head of Ian Gary and snatching up a leg and kind of turning him to the side. And the next time he went for it, within the split second that he started going for it, Ian Machado Gary like ducked his head under and like swung to the side and actually threw Shavkat past him. So it
Mhm.
showed that like he can learn in the fight, he can make reads really quickly, but all of those reads are for defense and like
Okay.
defensive movements. And so you go, great, but when are you gonna crack him with a counter? And he just rarely did, right?
Mhm.
So he definitely needs to work on that. Gilbert Burns might be good. Kamaru Usman, especially because Kamaru Usman has no knees. It's a little bit more target practicey. That might be a good fight. But yeah, and then Shavkat's gonna fight Bilal. Though if he has this MCL injury, he might be out for a long time. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. Like
I mean,
maybe
if
they
it's
just give
torn and it needs to be repaired, he'll be out for like possibly 6 to 8 months. You know.
yeah. So maybe Gary gets the shot against Bilal because it doesn't sound like. I mean, he had like one laceration under one eye, and that's about it. Uh,
Mhm.
so yeah, I mean, he would have earned it, right? He took. Not only did he not get finished by Shavkat, he took 2 rounds off of him, and he went 5 rounds. Like that's a pretty good thing. Nobody's been able to even make it out of 3 with him before. So
Mhm.
yeah. Anyway, so that was the main
Yeah.
event, which was kind of the biggest story because people were really surprised to kind of see the result. Watching it
Yeah.
real time, it was kind of boring until the 5th round when Gary. I mean, it was high level, but not like high paced. Um, until Gary nearly submitted Shavkat. And I was
Yeah.
watching it. Shavkat wasn't fighting the hands once Gary got his back. And I was like, whoa, is this guy like absolutely scrubs if he's in a bad position? Like, is he in a gym where he never lets himself get put in bad positions and like isn't drilling like that? He's only drilling as if he's always winning because
Mhm.
that's kind of what it felt like. Felt
Yeah.
like he's king shit a fuck mountain in his gym. And he's like, I'm not going to let anyone
Mhm.
threaten that, but you got to practice those positions, dude. Yeah. Anyway, speaking of fucking bad jiu-jitsu, we'll talk about this for like 15 minutes. Dude, I'm better. I can definitively say this with a blue belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I'm definitively better at grappling than Cyril Gahn. He This was an absolute robbery. Volkov should have taken it.
Oh, really?
Absolutely. Cyril Gahn sat for the heel hook again, like he did against Francis Ngannou, the decision that lost him that fight. And here's the
Mhm.
thing: he's standing over Volkov, Volkov has got like his legs kind of like, I mean, not even in guard, right? Just open around Cyril Gahn's hips. And Cyril Gahn he hasn't even secured the wrap on the leg. He hasn't even like grabbed the leg, made sure his arms and body is in position before he sits back to grab the heel hook. He sits down and then tries to grab the position for the heel hook,
Wait,
right?
what?
Okay.
Was he just tired or something, or did he like?
No, he just like does that shit. There were other moments too where like, Alexander Volkov had a crossface on him, and Cyril Gahn needed to like sit up and sweep. And the first thing you learn is if somebody has a crossface on you, before you get a sweep, you have to clear that crossface. That's like jujitsu 101.
Mhm.
Cyril Gahn didn't clear the crossface. He just tried to like sit up and was like, "Oh, this is so hard." And I was like, "Dude, this is nubs. This is shit that you get taught." I mean, if you go for like 6 months, like 2 or 3 days a week to a jujitsu class, as long as your coach isn't a moron, they're gonna show you better fundamentals than Cyril Gahn had in this fight.
Mhm.
Um, it was a terrible fight. It was so bad, and like he broke 2 or 3 toes on the first kick that he threw, so I can sort of forgive his stand up being a little less dynamic, but his stand up seemed to have also regressed in this fight. Like
Oh,
he looked really bad. Um, he looked
yikes.
really bad, and he left the cage before they even like, or when they read out the decision, he like left the cage. And then he came back and he said, "I'm not happy with that." Um, like he knew he hadn't won it. I don't
Mm.
know how anyone could have given him the fight. I know Adelaide Bird gave him 2 out of 3. Who, for anyone who doesn't know, Adelaide Bird is someone who routinely, regardless of whether Canelo Alvarez wins fights, will score it for Canelo Alvarez, and it's been investigated by the Nevada State Athletic Commission for how terrible their scorecards are. Yeah, this was a dog shit fight. It made me go like, wow, both of these people. Like we had said, like maybe Cyril Gahn would be interesting for Tom Aspinall. Not this Cyril Gahn, man. This Cyril Gahn looked like every other heavyweight in this division. Just
Oh boy.
absolute donkey brains, absolute scrub nubbins, just bad. Just
Yikes.
bad. So yeah, dude, heavyweight a wasteland. It's just Tom Aspinall and John Jones while he's here. And like who
Yeah.
gives a fuck? Um like honestly, they should run this fight back. They should just have Cyril Khan and Volkov fight again. Because it was so one like their first fight, Cyril Gahn was like light on his feet and throwing combinations and throwing the jab and like landing the jab well and was able to pick up timing. And like in this fight, he barely used the jab. He barely was like throwing in combination. He was trying to grapple, and it's clear he doesn't know how to grapple. It makes bad decisions when he's grappling. It was a shit fight.
Oh man.
So that's heavyweight.
No, that's pretty sad. All right.
Yeah, it was sad. Go back, watch Ho Choi. He
Okay.
fucking beats. I kept saying it to myself. I was like, dude, Nate Landwehr hasn't lost yet, and when he doesn't lose, he'll probably win. But Ho Choi beat the bejesus out of Nate Landwehr.
Okay. Okay.
It was kind of heavy bag practice. Like it really showed that
Oh
Nate
boy.
Landwehr has zero defense to speak of. But Ho Choi like lead uppercuts, throwing great combinations, really fast. Anytime Nate Landwehr would try to like run at him and grab a clinch, Ho Choi just like lateral dropping him, getting great double legs. Ho Choi looking like the man in this.
Okay.
It was a good fight, a good performance from him. Really impressive. He didn't get drawn into like a slugfest like he normally does. We like to see it. We like to see it.
All right. All right. But you
Yeah.
you skipped one. You skipped the Bryce Mitchell and Kron Gracie, the
Well,
two.
here's the thing. The exciting thing was for you to finally see Kron Gracie
I know.
pulling
I know.
guard like 7 times in this fight.
Oh man.
And not pulling guard in a dynamic way. Pulling guard in kind of a sort of like jumping into your father's arms when he returns from like military duty, like 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 daddy, and then like jumping onto their butt, right? Whereas pulling guard, you can be pulling on the back of someone's neck and then like really snapping down so that you're pulling them aggressively into guard. Chrome Gracie kind of like would waddle forward and then kind of like jump a little bit and like nestle onto Bryce Mitchell's hips.
So kind of like what you'd assume a Sasquatch would do, just like you were saying.
I guess, dude, his guard is outdated. Anyway, Bryce Mitchell eventually figured out that if he just puts the forearm across the neck and then slams downward, as Gracie is pulling guard, he will slam Chrome Gracie's head into the mat, and then he followed up with some elbows to finish it off. Shit fight. Duho Choi earlier in the night had called out Bryce Mitchell. I think that's a fantastic fight. We should have Duho Choi fight Bryce Mitchell. Featherweight, still the division of kings. That's a dynamic fight. Chrome Gracie. I mean, if it wasn't the nail in the coffin for just like Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and the Gracie family as a force in martial arts, then it was already dead, and this was just like, beating up a corpse. It was a really bad performance. And
Damn.
And Bryce Mitchell, totally normal in his post-fight speech. So did you see in the like press circuit beforehand, Bryce Mitchell coming out saying the government shouldn't be able to mandate seatbelts because what if you need to tuck and roll out of your car for any situation? Powerful thinking from a powerful thinker. Yeah. Anyway, so that was the main card, right? It was kind of weird. It was like Duho Choi beating the bejesus out of Nate Landwehr, Chrome Gracie being archaic in his fighting, the worst heavyweight fight I've seen in a long time, and then, Alexander Pantoja still the man.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about.
Give me just some quick summaries from these prelims because I'm looking at these results here and just give me a quick summary like Dominic Reyes and Anthony Smith. Dominic Reyes winning by TKO.
Yeah, Anthony Smith had just lost his longtime coach and best friend who had been in the corner for 57 years. And he was like kind of crying in the cage during the fight. He dropped his hands and told Dominic Reyes to hit me so I can feel something. Here's the thing. If you're like fighting your demons and you're going to get into
is that a real thing? Like,
yeah. No, that's real. That's real. Go look that shit up, man.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's just like, it's kind of time to retire, man. Like, it's just time to retire.
That's rough.
He's nearly 60 fights. You can't be fighting. So I'd seen the comment. You can't be fighting your demons in the octagon. Like,
no,
you gotta be. You can't be treating this like therapy, right? Like, what's that fucking mean? Men will do anything except go to therapy. Like go to therapy. Don't fight in the UFC as like a substitute.
Yeah.
I wish the best to Anthony Smith. Right? He's a great commentator. He seems like a genuinely good guy. I've said this before, and that's pretty rare in MMA. Like he just shouldn't. It's the negatives are probably outweighing the benefits. Dom Reyes looked like a guy who was fighting a guy who shouldn't be in there.
Okay.
Like he does not look like the Dom Reyes that fought John Jones. He in his own way, he's very washed. So yeah, that was sad. Before that, Vicente Luque, another old man who had a brain bleed, just absolutely took it to Temba Garimbo.
Got an anaconda choke. Like,
yeah,
that's pretty sweet.
First punch that he threw, he Garimbo and then just got the anaconda.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
I
don't know what it tells me. I think probably Vicente Luque and Michael Chiesa, another old guy on this card who got a win. I mean, but who looked old? Like, I mean, I hate to say, but it's just like you can see the speed at which someone moves. You can see like how sure-footed you are in your footwork as you're moving around the cage, how slowly you bend over at the waist, and like how much effort it seems to take to just like transition in someone's guard. Like Michael Chiesa just look old, but so is Vicente Luque. Like if there's gonna be a fight, they should probably just fight each other because they're both like old men. I'll get to the Evlo of Sterling in a little bit later. Let's talk about the other two old men fights. Clay Guida, love Clay Guida. Chase Hooper easily submitted him. It was like nothing.
Wow.
Like Clay Guida probably should also
retire.
Yeah. And if we're gonna have these people at lightweight, because we're gonna get to UFC 311 in a second, if fucking Hanato Moicano isn't fighting Paddy Pimblett, let's get Chase Hooper in there. Because I think Chase Hooper might be able to beat Paddy Pimblett.
All right.
Yeah. Clay Guida again, old. right? Like he did his thing where he tapped out to the armbar and then he got up and ran like 30 laps around the cage. So it's like he's got the cardio, but
That's what he does.
yeah, man. What is he? A few days away from 42 years old. Like it's rough.
Yeah.
And then Chris Weidman, Eric Enders was a really sad fight. Chris Weidman 2 times tripped himself on his own feet,
Oh boy.
just circling, right? Not like Eric Anders was like pressuring him and he like trying to scramble away, like just circling, like
Just
basically.
on his own.
Yeah, he looked so slow. Every time he got punched, like his whole body like jerked and kind of like tensed up. Like
Oof.
it was like it's time. Like
Yeah.
it was really, and Eric Anders looked like shit too, and he still was taking it to Chris Weidman. It's like, yeah, Chris Weidman just looked. It's such a far cry from a guy who was knocked out Anderson Silva, choked out Lyoto Machida, knocked out Vitor Belfort. Like this was not the same dude, right? The guy who intercepting elbowed Mark Munoz in the face and knocked him out.
Hmm.
Like this guy looked. I mean, he's just old, and there's just so many miles on him.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's rough.
yeah, it was rough. So let's talk about 2 highlights then.
Okay.
Of
So
this fight.
I'm assuming it's Josh Van and the Evelev and Sterling fights.
Yeah, Josh Van beat the living bejesus out of Cody Durden.
I'm looking at these scorecards. You got on the one end a 30-26. Okay, that falls exactly in line what you said. A 30-27. Okay, and then a 29-28.
Is that right? How?
It's a unanimous decision. Yeah, he won all 3 cards, but all 3 judges, but one judge scored one of the rounds to Cody Durden.
Yeah. So in the first round, I think Josh Van, he got taken down. What was it? 3 or 4 times, or maybe 3 times, but he stuffed like 4 or 5 takedowns.
Oh wow, okay.
Like he stuffed quite a few takedowns, and then like as the fight went going, I think he stuffed three or 4 takedowns in the second round, and then like 2 or 3 in the third round. So the beginning of the fight was like primarily Cody Durden just like constantly shooting for takedowns, and then Josh Van slowly chipping away with shots to the body, like really good jabs, really good like jabbing or hooking off the jab. And Cody Durden just started getting his face kind of like beat to pieces throughout the fight until, I mean, a minute into the second round, Josh Van is entirely in control.
Oh wow.
He's only 23. We've been impressed by him. He's got fantastic mechanics in his punches. He stays calm in a lot of situations. His takedown defense, although he, did get taken down in the first round, I think he blocked the majority of shots that were taken. Oh, yeah, it says here Cody Durden was 2 takedowns of 8 attempts. So, yeah, he blocked 6. So, his takedown defense is looking great. He's 23, so he's still young. His combination work was a little like rote, right? It seemed like he was like, I have these combinations, I will throw them
Oh,
regardless of
okay.
kind of what was going on, right? There wasn't a lot of, kind of like Tony Ferguson flow state or like kind of taking and improvising as the fight was going on. He would get into a position, he would get his timing down and go, great, I'm going to throw this 3-punch combination. And then he would throw it. And maybe while he's throwing it, Cody Durden would react in a weird way, and Josh Van wouldn't necessarily capitalize, would up in a way that would make sense. But he's 23, right? He's super young. The fact that he was able to beat a top 15 fighter and beat him like really convincingly without taking much damage is great. Yeah. Josh Van should definitely be fighting someone higher ranked, maybe like a Tim Elliott. He could even fight. No, Kaya Sakura is too much, but.
Oh, you think I was gonna say, do you think that's too much of a jump for him?
Probably, because again, he's 23, right? Like, he's only been fighting professionally for like 2 or 3 years. We should probably slow our roll a little bit, but this was a good improvement, especially from just getting knocked out like 2 fights ago. Yeah, he looked good. And yeah, just like beautiful mechanics, like overall, like as someone that just like appreciates. Oh wow, like he threw that punch really correctly, like. That's what it was like. So that was great. And the best fight of the night, which should have won fight of the night, but I see they didn't award a fight of the night at this card because I think Dana White hates both Movsar Evloev and Aljamain Sterling. Um, this fight was, dude, it was two squirrels fucking. It was
Yeah.
great. It was scrambles like crazy. And the thing that I love about both these guys is they will, unlike Rachmanov and the Gary fight, where it was very like, I'm never going to sacrifice a position. So it's just a lot of like neutral space fighting and like not a lot of like nobody's taking risks to try to gain an advantage. Aljamain Sterling and Movsar Evloev were fucking selling out and taking massive risks on every exchange. It'd be like, Movsar Evloev would like shoot for a double leg, and then Aljamain, rather than trying to defend it, was like, I'm gonna shoot for your legs at the same time and try to like sneak around the back. And then as he's sneaking around the back, Movsar Evloev was like, I'm gonna try to roll to try to get into half guard, and Aljamain Sterling's like, I'm gonna bridge really hard, which will open me up for an arm bar, but then that gives up my back. Like it just was this constant motion where every time one of them would attack, the other one would try to counterattack, which wasn't being defensively sound. But then that would open up like the chance for the other person to capitalize on it. But then they would take a big risk to capitalize on it, and it just was this like endless cascade of insane scrambling overall.
That is really interesting that you say that, because we've also criticized Aljamain Sterling before for being one of those wrestlers who like he wrestles like it's a wrestling match where he'll like get a position and hold it because that like quote unquote scores him points. And he doesn't advance the position, but maybe it's just because he knew that he couldn't get away with that with Evloev and just had to sell out big time. But
Yeah.
or maybe it's, I don't know, but that sounds very intriguing that he kind of changed his grappling approach for this fight.
I don't know if he necessarily changed it, because the places where he stalls out when he is either on your back or has your back pressed flat to the ground. And then he's like, great, I'm in a dominant position. But Aljamain Sterling is always trying to like move to the back. So especially in that Petr Yan fight, not the one where he won via DQ, but actually like won 3 of the 5 rounds. You'll notice like he'll get into these crazy exchanges, but the second he clamps onto the back and he won't necessarily be hunting really hard for the rear naked choke. He's just satisfied with getting the back. The thing was, he would keep selling out big techniques to try to get to Mosarv's back, and then Mosarv would reverse him. But then in order to counter the reversal, he would try to sell out again, and it created this insane kind of like motion throughout the fight. I think it really was because Mosar is so difficult to grapple. Like these are probably the 2 highest level grapplers at featherweight. Neither one of them could really like get to an ultimately advantageous position overall. And so they just had to keep fighting for it. And I think ultimately Aljamain Sterling just gassed a little bit more. Like not both of them are really well conditioned featherweights, but Mosar seemed to have a little bit more pop and like urgency in his scramble towards the end. But this was a phenomenal fight. Like if there's any fight you're gonna watch in on this card, this is the one to go back and watch, because it's
Okay.
it's wild. It's great, and like I've never seen like somebody. Aljamain almost has the back. Mosar grabs 2-on-1 on one of his wrists, and then like shrugs him to the side, and then Aljamain Sterling like is spinning around, but his hand is caught, and so he tries to feed it through Mosar's legs, and then like pull a leg out as it's going. It was like the weirdest looking, like almost like dance that was going on. It was. I mean, that sounds so frou-frou, but it's like the wildest shit I've seen. I've never seen exchanges like this. It like was very reminiscent of when Nick Diaz fought Diego Sanchez back in like 2005.
Oh,
Just
jeez.
like just people just constantly rolling for, Imanari rolling, and then like somersaulting and fucking going to the back and diving in on things. It was constant motion the whole time. It was
All right.
it was pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Yeah.
Good
And
to
then
know.
Randy Brown, Brian Battle, fuck that fight. I'm not gonna talk about it. Yeah, go fuck that fight.
All right.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was 310. Not as good as I think we had said on paper, but you didn't watch it.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, because we were both kind of hyped for this fight, and it sounds like it kind of disappointed, with the exception of like, okay, one fight on the early prelim with Josh Van and Cody Durden, one fight on the prelim with Movsar Evloev and Aljamain Sterling, and 1.5 fight with Pantoja and Du Hoi Choi. Like,
Yeah, I think the old man fights really took a lot out of it. As much as we thought, like, oh, it might be kind of fun, because it ended up being way more sad than fun. And
yeah.
then the Shavkat Ian Gary fight was very technical, but I wouldn't call it a fun fight. Yeah, it was an all right card. It was all right. It was exciting to see Pantoja like be the man. We did learn some things about these welterweight contenders. Heavyweight always fucking sucks, but I didn't know it sucked this bad. So that was kind of fun. Old man fight sucked. Kron Gracie, dude, the pulling guard, like, it started getting like annoying. You're like, this is not working. Please stop doing this. Like,
I
this
mean,
is, yeah.
yeah.
Oh. Anyway, but let's talk about something better.
All right.
Fuck UFC 310. It's done.
All
But
right.
we do have the next two UFC pay-per-views have been announced. We have basically the full card for UFC 311.
Yeah.
Let's
with
run
it.
through a couple of these fights, and you just give me an A through F grade on them.
Oh, okay.
Islam Makhachev, Arman Saryukian.
A.
Yeah, that's right. Merab Dvalishvili, Umar Nurmagomedov.
I would also say A. Like,
I think so.
yeah, I think it's good. I'm good with it. I'm with it.
Now this one, I didn't know they were going to go this way, but Beneil Dariush, Hanato Moicano.
I was surprised by this as well, but you know what? I'm with it. I think it's kind of like we were talking about earlier of like moving some, like the transition to the lightweight division is beginning. It's beginning with trying to establish a new order amongst the non-older action fighters. So yeah, I'll still say though, there's like B+, A-. I'm good with it.
Not when you had Paddy Pimblett, Hanato Moicano lined up though. Because here's my thing. I'll go on record now, and I'll say it. Beneil Dariush is going to beat Hanato Moicano pretty convincingly.
Ooh, okay.
And I'm like, you had Hanato Moicano, Paddy Pimblett. That's a much more intriguing matchup. This is not that intriguing, though I'm glad to see them both fighting.
Yeah.
Yuri Prochazka, Jamal Hill?
I mean, sure, whatever, but like...
Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess
it's a good fight to have. I'll say that. But like, either way, whoever wins, they're still gonna get blown up by Alex Pereira. So like, whatever.
Well, but have you seen Jamal Hill fucking going into the UFC Apex and like yelling at Alex Pereira, and then Alex Pereira like throwing down gloves, and then Jamal Hill being like, "Oh no, I don't fight for free." You're like, damn, that's an L, buddy. That's an L.
Yeah, that's like you said, routinely finding ways to 10-7 himself. Like,
that's exactly right, man. What a fucking Kevin Holland, Renier de Ridder.
Again, another one that I was not really thinking about, not even really on my radar, but yeah, again, kind of intrigued. Like B, I guess. B-.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah.
Johnny Walker, Bogdan Guskov.
That huge sigh that you had. I don't know, man. Like,
it's like a fight at light heavyweight, and I guess the best thing that I'd say is like both of them suck so bad that most likely one of them is going to get nuked instantly.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be one of those things where it's like the crowd is either really entertained or really upset about how bad the fight is. There's not going to be a middle ground. It's not going to be a good fight. It's going to be, someone gets hit and they get knocked out in the goofiest way possible. Like, and people like that, you know?
Yeah.
So whatever.
Dude, if I'm Johnny Walker, I'm going to Ryzen, right? And I'm going to fight what's his fucking face? Francis Ngannou. Right? Just like a goofy ass big guy who could fight at heavyweight, cuz you're not going to win light heavyweight gold, man. Yeah. Anyway. Peyton Talbot, Honey Barcelos.
I don't know Honey Barcelos. I know Peyton Talbot now, and I'm excited for that.
You don't know Honey Barcelos?
No.
Dude, he's had like 30 fights in the UFC. What the fuck are you talking about?
When was his last fight?
His last fight was February of 2024.
Okay, yeah, like right before I started watching again and getting into UFC again. Like I was watching like here and there and not and whatnot, and like
He's had
yeah,
11
like
fights in the UFC, man.
yeah. Okay, so
That's crazy. He fought Umar Nurmagomedov.
yeah, okay,
All right. Hane Barcelos, good. We like him, and this is a good level of paint tablet. So this is excellent matchmaking, A+.
okay, all right, good.
Jailton Almeida, Sergey Spivak, back to heavyweight.
Yep. Listen, I'm always gonna root for Jailton Almeida. He's a small heavyweight, so like, and like I said, he cheats by knowing jujitsu at heavyweight. So yeah, I'm with it.
All right, two people who don't even have Wikipedia pages: Zachary Reese, Cedric Dumas.
Yeah,
At middleweight. Yep, fuck it. Lightweight: Grant Dawson, Carlos Diego Ferreira. That's a good fight.
Yeah, okay, intriguing. I'm trying to see. I'm looking right now who they last fought as well. Against Matej Rebeshki.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, and then Garcia. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, all right, yeah. Again, kind of bring in new blood to the lightweight division. So sure, yeah, I'm with it.
Yeah, we like that. Kira Rosa, Eileen Perez.
Not too familiar with either one of them.
Eileen Perez is the one that twerks after she wins every fight.
Oh, right. Yes.
Yeah. Rinya Nakamura versus Muin Gafarov.
Yeah, okay. Like you alluded to earlier, or maybe this when we were offline. I don't know Rinya Nakamura.
Rin Nakamura was like the for the 2020 Olympics before it was delayed because of COVID. He was like the star prospect in freestyle wrestling for Japan. He was like the Japanese wrestling prodigy. And because of the delay, he did not get to compete in the Olympics. He had won the world championships, I believe, the year before for his division. He decided, fuck it, I'm not going to wait around for the Olympics. Who knows when they're going to come back? I'm going to go into MMA.
I'm just going to go pro. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So Rin Nakamura, he's definitely someone to keep an eye on, especially he's a bantamweight. He might be able to cut to flyweight. Who's to say? But yeah, smaller dude, 9-0 overall. He's been fighting in the UFC for 3 fights, but he was also in road to UFC.
Yeah.
He's good. He's fucking
also
good.
Another wrestling heavy Japanese fighter.
I know it's kind of weird, right? Like
it is very weird. It's not what I had imagined, really.
Yeah, I had seen something where somebody was talking about how like the UFC in a way has its own style of MMA that you have to get good at, which is very wrestling and like pace, like cardio centric fighting. You have to be able to deal with a lot of grappling and a very high pace. Whereas Japanese MMA really doesn't have that. It's a lot more about being like dynamically explosive and a lot more striking because wrestling is just not as big of a thing over in Asia. So it is so weird to see a lot of these Japanese fighters be these stellar grapplers who also can keep a really high pace in their grappling for 3 to 5 rounds. Yeah, that's cool. It's cool shit.
Yeah.
311. As it stands right now, I mean, I know there's 2 other fights on there, but fuck those fights. Nobody cares.
Come on, there's a flyweight fight here. Come on.
Yeah, but Tagir Ulanbekov, like, he should be fighting Josh Van. Like, he should not be in the top 15. No. What's your score for 311? It's on paper. Pretty good.
On paper. Hey, I like it. I love the start to this year then.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's not the official start, but the first pay-per-view of the year. I'm with it. I love it.
Yeah, because the first fight is an Apex card, and it's Mackenzie Dern versus Amanda Hebosh 2. A fight we've already seen, which was not good, and no one cares about. Yeah, so we'll just say 311 is the start of the year. And then 312 was announced.
That I didn't know until you messaged me, like right before the start of our recording. So
it was so weird because it was like in between fights, they just cut to people in the audience, and it's like fucking Donkerson and Rick Rickerson, and then, oh look, Tatiana Suarez, and then the little like graphic comes up below her, and it says co-main event Tatiana Suarez, Zhang Weili, UFC 312, and like that
Oh,
was how they announced it. There was no like trailer or anything. It was just her sitting in the crowd. And I was
wow.
like, oh my God, I didn't. Okay. And then I was like, well, where is this card? Is this card in China? And then it cuts away to the desk, and it's like Joe Rogan and Daniel Cormier both looking exhausted because they're fucking in their like 50s, staying up till midnight calling fights. And then there was just a little graphic in the corner being like Sean Strickland, Dricus Duplessis 2 main event in Sydney, Australia for UFC 310 or 312.
Mhm.
And I was like, one, we'll get to these fights in a second. What a weird collection of fighters to have as your main and co-main for your Sydney card.
Yeah, yep.
You don't have Alexander Volkanovski. You don't have Israel Adesanya. You don't have Dan Hooker. You don't have Steve Ursig. Like, I know Robert Whitaker had his entire jaw. He went in and apparently had surgery recently.
Oh,
I don't know if I had listened to his podcast. He was talking about like, oh yeah, my teeth got pushed, and he said, but since he was a child, because his teeth have been so fucked up, he's never been able to bite into an apple, because his
what?
teeth move when he bites into something that hard, like as hard as an apple. And I was like, hey man, you can't be fist fighting if you can't bite into an apple. That's not good. So they removed, I guess, like almost all of his bottom teeth, and they found
Yikes.
multiple cysts in his jaw, which
Oh,
because apparently
God.
he had 4 root canals before the Ikram Aliskerov fight.
Jeez.
And that was because he had all these cysts in his jaw. Wild.
Yeah, absolutely
anyway.
wild.
But 312. It's in Australia, but we have a South African man and like the weirdest MAGA American. And then Tatiana Suarez, a Mexican American woman, and Zhang Weili, a proud Chinese nationalist. Like, this is the weirdest collection of people you could have put on a Sydney card, I feel like.
Yeah, yeah.
That's weird. What do you think about these two fights? Tell me about Zhang Weili, Tatiana Suarez. Excited for it? Not excited for it. Give me a score.
I mean, I like Zhang Weili. Tatiana Suarez. Will she make it to this fight? What's the betting odds of that?
I don't know. Yeah. It does kind of feel like that's right. They kept trying to make her because I guess she fought twice in 2023, but then she hadn't fought. She fought in 2019 before that, twice in 2018, once in 2017. It feels like they just like she kept being this thing where we think she'll be a star, right? We think she'll be like a big thing. She'd won the World Jiu-Jitsu Championships, got gold in 2013 and 2015. In 2010 and 2008, she, medaled at the World Championships for freestyle wrestling. It seems like they're just kind of sick and tired of like trying to build her up, and they're like, fuck it, throw her into the title fight.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. Like, yeah, will she show up? And if she does show up, like, how will she look?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Dricus, did you ever go back and watch the Dricus Duplessis, Sean Strickland, their first fight?
No, I didn't actually.
Dude, it sucked. It was a bad fight. It was a bad fight.
Yeah, because that was the beginning of this year as well. It was also like February or January of 2024, right?
It was the fight to kick off this year. Yeah. And it sucked ass. It was terrible.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're so excited to have Dricus Duplessis and Sean Strickland fight in Australia, especially because I thought like, well, Hamzat Chimaev has got to be the thing. He just ripped, I mean, kind of with an asterisk, but ripped Robert Whitaker's like teeth out of his face. So
yeah,
why are we doing this fucking fight?
Yeah.
So this card I'm a little more meh on, but 311 looks good.
311 looks great. Yeah.
And hopefully we get Dan Hooker because he just came off that great win over Mateusz Gamrot.
Yeah,
Let's get Dan Hooker in here. Let's get Kai France, Alexander Pantoja on there. Like, or Steve Ursig. Let's get Steve Ursig in there. Let's get somebody. Yeah.
Question for you. Okay. Yeah. We're starting the year off with 2 big pay-per-view fights, and both of them have 2 championship fights in them. Does that make you a little concerned about, hey, we're going to have a few months where there's going to be fucking nothing again?
Oh, bro, like, I think after these 2 fights, there's probably gonna be nothing until July.
Oh, fuck. Really? You think that long?
I think so, right? We're gonna be waiting on Shavkat's knee for Bilal.
Yeah.
Maybe Pantoja will fight again before July. Maybe not, depending on when
Ilya?
Ilya, dude, I think I could see Ilya waiting all the way to June or July for
Yeah.
something in the Bernabeu, right? If he's a big star, you want nice weather in Spain. Yeah, probably right. Umar's not going to fight because of Ramadan. Oh yeah, and if Bilal has fought during Ramadan, but Bilal as champion probably won't want to fight, and Shavkat won't want to fight during Ramadan.
Yeah.
So now we blow out March, April, May. So now we're into maybe July at the earliest for them. Heavyweight, it's Tom Aspinall, John Jones. That's going to take a year to resolve. It's going to have to. Alex Pereira is basically.
Come on in again, baby.
I know, because
Save the day.
Fuck all else going on. Maybe we'll have a Valentina Shevchenko fight, but who gives a shit? Maybe Kayla Harrison, Juliana Pena, who really gives a shit? Like, yeah. But we're gonna be positive moving into the new year. That's what.
Right.
I'm gonna resolve to try to be positive.
That's our mantra. Be more positive.
Be more. What, dude? The UFC just makes it hard, dude.
It does. It really does.
It's especially with these man. I wish you had seen all these old man fights to suffer the pain I felt, because fuck, it was rough. It was like Chris Weidman fell down twice, tripping over his own legs as he was like circling, and I'm like, you can't be doing that, bro.
That's pretty brutal.
Yeah, it was rough. So yeah, 310 was all right. We learned some stuff. We did some stuff. And we have one more fight card coming up at the end of this year for the UFC. That is, because we also have Fury too, which is great. This Tampa, Florida card, it's got some fights, 2 fights, 3 fights on it, maybe. Yeah. I don't know. We'll talk about it later. Okay. Anything else?
No, again, thanks for holding it down this week and giving us all the scoop on this past card. So I gotta give you props. I'm sorry. Sorry, man.
I think as your penalty, because also I called the fights better than you.
I got some bad picks on that one, man.
Yeah. I think you should have to watch the entirety of this main card, of this upcoming card, and then return back to us. Because I don't know if I want to watch like all this. This is
I'm gonna tell you right now that's probably not gonna
happen. Okay. Yeah, and we'll have to figure out. God, I don't know. Like a quick thought experiment, because as you brought up that thing about who's going to be fighting after these first 2 pay-per-view events, who do you, of the champions that are in the UFC right now, who do you see actually holding the title at this time next year?
Ooh,
like end of year, who still is there?
Their current title.
Yeah.
Okay. Probably Pantoja.
Okay.
Rob, if you can get past Umar, then yes. But if not, I don't know.
Well, hold on a minute. I asked you who's gonna do it, and you went, if the guy can defend the title, then yes, and if he can't, no.
Well, okay. What I mean by that,
those are the only 2 options, Collin.
Well, no. Okay. Because
he either defends or he doesn't, right?
Okay, but but like I'm saying, like, if Merab has multiple challenges next year, like the main challenge is Umar. So if he gets past that, then he's getting past everyone else, I feel.
Okay, but do you think he's gonna get past that?
That's
the whole thought experiment.
I'm not sure yet. You know, because after you talked about it, and you were like so like you were so positive that Umar's gonna just wipe the floor with Merab. You know, like I watched a few more of Umar Nurmagomedov's like fights and highlights, and I'm a little more like convinced with him. But I also thought that Sean O'Malley was gonna beat Merab.
Oh, but that's
That,
because you're a fool.
but I a lot of people have been underestimating Marab, so I don't know.
Mm,
I don't know.
a
So
lot of people being you, maybe. I think you're underestimating Umar Nurmagomedov is what's happening.
that could be it too.
Yeah.
That
All
was
right.
okay. Bantamweight's more toss up. I would say no. I'll say no then.
Okay.
Okay.
Ilya?
Taporia, yes. Yeah, he's staying.
Okay.
Islam staying, yeah. Bilal Muhammad, if Shavkat can heal within 2025, then yes, he will. Then that belt will change.
Okay. So as soon as Bilal fights Shavkat,
Yeah.
belt's changing hands.
Yep.
Got it.
But
Now,
again,
what about Drickus?
fuck if I know. I mean, every time I think he's met his match, he somehow pulls out this crazy win. So like,
Mhm.
because if he gets past Sean Strickland,
He'll fight Hamzat by the end of the year for sure.
but will he fight Hamzat by the end of the year?
I think so. I think the UFC is so excited to have Hamzat be the champion. Hamzat's going to have restrictions lifted against him being able to fight in the UFC or in the United States because of Trump. Like, I think the UFC will be pumped.
Let's take all the restrictions out, and let's just focus on the fact that Hamzat had a rough go with his health.
He's got 12 months to find a month that works for him. He was able to fight. Did he fight only one time or two times this year?
Fought once.
He fought once this year. But I mean, he has managed to fight. He fought once this year, once last year, twice in 2022, one time in 2021, one time, well, 1, 2, 3, 4 times in 2020. Like, he at least does manage one fight per year.
Yeah.
So I could see it. I could see
Yeah.
him fighting. The question is, if Hamzat and Drickus do fight, does Drickus win?
Yes.
Yes, he does. He beats Hamzat.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. All right, so
Drickus, man, clearing out the
Drickus,
division.
Jesus fucking Christ! I can't believe we're saying that.
Alex
Anyway.
Pereira, will he be 205 champion by the end of the
If
year?
he decides to stay at 205, then yes.
Even against Ankalaev?
Yeah.
Even against Jamal Hill in a rematch? I can't keep a straight face on that one. That's a silly suggestion. Oh man, dude, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I should have put this as my Thanksgiving fucking thing. I'm so excited for Drickus du Plessis to beat Sean Strickland and then go up and beat Alex Pereira just so that I can see your face. That's it's gonna make me so happy. Yeah.
All right, we're watching that fight together then. If
Anyway.
DDP moves up to light heavyweight, we're watching that together. Okay. Anyway.
Right. Oh yeah, yeah. But Alex Pereira is not going to be the champion by the end of the year. That's mark my words.
Okay. Okay,
I mean,
because he loses the title, or because he relinquishes it to move somewhere else.
No, because he loses it.
Oh, okay.
What do we say about heavyweight?
The real champion is crowned.
Yeah, Tom Aspinall's crowned. You think?
Yeah.
Okay. How does that happen?
I think John Jones retires.
And you think Tom Aspinall fights whom?
Cyril Gane.
Dude, I legitimately, after how bad his performance was, I don't know if the UFC can like give a title shot off of that. I know they can, obviously, but it was so bad that I'm like, you can't give a title shot off of that win.
I mean, he has no one else to fight. Then he's already beaten everyone else.
Fucking let's get Jamal Hill up there, baby. Let's get your Prohatska up there. Khalil Roundtree can, eat a few more carbs. Get him up there. Yeah. All right. Zhang Weili.
Yeah.
Okay. Valentina Shevchenko.
Does she even have a fight scheduled yet?
No, but it should probably be Menon Furo next.
Yes, I will say Shevchenko stage champion.
You are just such a mark for Shevchenko. Juliana
I
Pena.
nope.
Yeah. And who is holding that title by the end of the year at bantamweight?
Kayla Harrison.
Wrong. It's going to be Raquel Pennington. Mark my words. Raquel Pennington will reclaim the title by the end of the year. At this time, end of December, Raquel Pennington, new champion. You'll see.
All right. So you're just gonna have 2 changes, you think?
I think Kayla Harrison might never be able to make bantamweight again.
Oh.
And I
Okay.
think Raquel Pennington will swoop in and beat Juliana Pena.
Ah.
That's what I think.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So we're pretty aligned, except you were wishy-washy about Umar winning.
Yeah.
Dricus definitely winning. He's actually going to move up probably and become a double champ and win the light heavyweight title too. And yeah, I guess Tom Masvidal. Dude, what if at this time next year John Jones has not had another fight and yet he still is sitting as champion in the UFC?
I will be so annoyed and pissed off and just
Good.
it would be
Let the hate
fucking
flow
the
through you.
worst. Yeah.
All right. Well, that's all the questions I have, right? That's it for me. Yeah, that was UFC 310. We're looking forward to 2025, maybe. We've got a banger of a pay-per-view to kick off the year, and then like a weird one later.
Yeah.
But yeah, this has been Two Fight Fans Podcast. I'm one Fight Fan Stuart.
I'm the other Collin.
And join us next week where instead of me talking a lot, Collin is going to recount blow by blow every single fight of the main card of UFC Tampa, Colby Covington versus Joaquin Buckley.
Yeah, great.
Oh, no, wait. We're not going to recount it. We actually have to make picks on this card or talk about it for a minute. There's 2 fights we could talk about probably on this card. We'll figure it out.
All right.
All right. That's it.
All
Bye,
right.
everybody.
Bye-bye.